And now it's time for a preview of an upcoming game by Tom Vasel.
I get to do a lot of previews of different games, and people will send me games and I'll preview them. And I preview them so that you can see and hopefully tell from my preview whether it's a good game or not. I usually try not to tell you what my opinion of the game is because the game has not yet been made and I want you to decide for yourself based on how the game plays. Well, this is the same thing as that, except in this case, I am telling you this is a great game because this game has already been republished. It is now just being reprinted. Lost Valley is in my top 100 games. It has been for many years since I played it because I like the thematic nature of it. You are a miner, a prospector, going out and hunting down gold and basically racing other players to get that gold. Let's take a look at how the game works. So let's take a look at the game here. Remember, this is not a prototype game like most of my previews, but it is possible that the components and things will change. But this is what the game looks like currently, and it looks so good because it is an actual published game. You have two piles of rhombuses here that you will use. One of the piles has river on the back of it to show that it goes next to the river, and these diamonds will be placed as you move. Each player has a prospector that they'll start here at the main trading post, and they're going to move from intersection to intersection, and as they move you will turn over tiles to fill up the area next to them. So for example, when I move here I could put one diamond like that, or I could put multiple diamonds. And as you move from, again, intersection to intersection, you will find yourself adding more and more. Now it is possible, as time goes by, that occasionally you will put them in such a place that there is a triangle shape left, and there's a small pile of triangle shaped tiles for that point. Those are actually usually pretty good tiles when you place them out. Now the different tiles that you will place out are going to show different symbols on them. The main symbols that you are looking for often have these green numbers on them, or they will have these gray numbers on them. That is where you're going to find gold. That gold is placed on those tiles in the form of tokens that match the same color. So this would say I would put 2, that's river gold there, and then I would put 3 mountain gold here. This tile shows an animal, so an animal token would go there. Occasionally a tile will show a question mark, so you would put an event on those tiles. So there's different things that will go upon the different tiles. But what are you doing? What is the point of this game? Well, the point of this game has to do with your prospector. And so your prospector has a sheet, and on this sheet he has here a backpack, and in this backpack he can put raw materials. These raw materials might be lumber. He can carry a big piece of lumber there in his backpack. It might be food that he can carry around. And so it might be a tool that he has. And so the prospector is going to be carrying these things around. He also has gear here. And as the game progresses, he can go back to the trading post and he can buy gear. And we'll talk more about gear in a moment. And then he has a gold bag down here. As you take these tokens, river gold tokens are 1 to 2 gold, and the mountain gold is 3 to 4 gold nuggets, and you will put those down here in your gold. And occasionally a random event will give you gold also. Now gameplay is very simple. On a player's turn, they simply get to move and take one action. They can take the action first, then move. When they're moving, if they move next to a river, they can move twice. If they move on the land, they can only move one spot. And remember, wherever you move, it is possible that you will have to continue on and build out the map until there are no more tiles left on the map. You will continue placing river tiles until eventually you will have to place the cap of the river when you've run out of river tiles, and this is an extremely short river compared to what the game would be like. When that happens, you will put an ice flow there. After a player goes, once the ice flow shows up, you will roll a die, and if you roll a 5 or 6, the ice flow will move one space. When the ice flow gets all the way back there, the game is over. The game can also be over when one player has gotten 10 tokens in their gold bag, and they can declare the game over at that point. They have to go back to the home base, and then everyone counts the number of nuggets, and whoever has the most is the winner. Now, what are the different actions you can take? The thing about this game is that a player goes and takes an action, and the actions are very, very short and simple. If there is a fish on the river, like it shows here, then a player can fish, which gives him a food. If there's an animal token, like shown right here, and the animal token is still there, a player can decide to fight that animal. They roll a die, someone else rolls a die. If they roll higher, they kill the animal. They see what animal they've killed and how much food it gives them. A player can mine for river gold. Now, if the river gold is on the river itself, they just take one of the tiles. Otherwise, they have to build a canal, which is an action you can also take by putting one of your pieces of lumber there. And once this canal is built, you can start taking river gold. To take mountain gold is harder. You have to build a mine, which is an action you can take. Another action you can take is by building a fishery or building a lumber mill. And each of these things that you build will cost you a tool to build them. The fishery helps because when you catch fish, you'll catch 2 instead of 1. To build a mine is the only way to get the mining gold, because whenever you take these gold tokens, when you take one of these tokens here, you have to have water and you have to pay a food for every token you take. Here you have to pay a food and a lumber. Well, how do you get more lumber? Well, if you're next to a forest, like this red guy is here, you can just, for your action, take a lumber. So your actions are pretty basic. Take a lumber if you're next to a forest. If you're next to a fish token, you can take 1 or 2 fish. If there's a mill here, you can take 2 lumber. If you have the necessary food, you can take a gold token. You can hunt an animal. You can take one of these random tokens. There's many different random tokens that a player can get that can provide you with different tools that you might find. They might even be gold. You might find whiskey laying around that will give you extra actions. As I said, you can also go back and buy more gear that players can use. The gear will do different things, and you can see, for example, here on this sheet, it tells you the cost of each of the gear and what it does. And you can buy a cart, which if you buy that cart, then you have 4 more spaces to put raw materials. You can buy a canoe, which lets you go 3 spaces when moving next to the river, or a horse that when you're not next to the river you can move 2 spaces. You can get a rifle when you're hunting animals. You add 3 to your die. An axe gives you extra lumber. A fishing rod gives you extra fish. Sieve, when you get that, when you do river gold, you can take 2 instead of just 1. And dynamite, you can take 2 mountain gold tiles instead of 1 when getting those. All of these are very useful different tools that you can have and get and use as the game goes by, but you have to decide which way to do them. And that's basically it. You're going to just be moving as quickly as you can. You might want to decide to go for a fast win and try to get river gold, as much of it as you can, or you can go for the much more profitable but harder to get mountain gold. And along the way you're trying to get food by either fishing and killing animals and maybe going for random events and seeing what else happens to you. One of the things that I really like about Lost Valley is just how fast it plays. You move, take an action, move, take an action, and it goes around and you watch what the other people do. Sometimes they build a mine, you're going to go steal from their mine that they built. Which side of the river? Once you go down the river, you'll need a canoe if you're going to cross it, or otherwise you have to come all the way back to the mouth of the river and go down the other side. Where is what options are you going to try to do? Are you going to try to build a nice little canal network to get all that river gold laying around? Or are you going to go and build mines and grab that gold? Are you going to go hunt animals or go for fishing? The easier but less food. And so, it's very fast, very flavorful. There's only so much of each type of equipment, so maybe there's only 2 or 3 horses. Not everyone can get a horse and be able to gallop around. And so you have to decide what's good, how much gold you're going to get. Are you just going to try to get gold, or are you going to come back and buy equipment, which will let you get it faster? All that with some wonderful artwork and it's just, I just very much enjoy the game. Using the rhombus tiles is better than square because they can be oriented in different directions, and it just looks neat. So this is one, you know, I don't normally say this in previews, but I do highly recommend this one. Go kickstart it now, Lost Valley.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.